Hello, Internet, and welcome to episode 22 of the Braindrizzle podcast. I am your host, Q Dragon. With me, as always, is Jack. How you doing, Jack?
Hey-ho.
So, I got some science news, as we do, but I'm going to run through that pretty quick, because you got some stories from your first conference.
Yes, I do. Stories so face-meltingly awesome that they are giving you science verbal diarrhea.
Okay.
Because you're going to run through the stories, you see.
Oh, yes. Anyways. First one is a video slash blog recommendation for a talk, not a TED talk, just like a non-TED talk. Someone named Mark Lynas gave. We may have mentioned him before because he was in that Golden Rice story as like a former anti-GMO activist.
All right.
So he's got like a half-hour talk he gave at a university where he's basically sort of apologizing for his actions and like calling out other environmentalists who are anti-GMO.
I gotta admire that guy. That guy is a BAMP. It takes a lot to put so much time and energy into something, and then when you realize that you're wrong, looking at that time and energy you put there and turn your back and walk away. I mean, you don't. That is hard to do.
Yeah, he says he gets hate mail, but he's talked to other scientists, and they get way worse hate mail, so he's like, he's not complaining about that. He's really trying to fight for the other direction now, because, other groups and stuff like this, like Greenpeace and related groups, prevented the import of GM corn, or whatever, I forget the specific incident, but prevented the import of GM foods to, like, famine areas, because they convinced the people, or the government, that it was toxic.
Yeah, it's fucked up, man. I mean, these are people who don't know what it is to be hungry, and they're letting people. Oh my god.
Interesting point he makes, because there are some anti-GMO people that are just anti-science, but I would say a majority of them are so-called environmentalists, and it's funny because he points out that they're happy to take the scientific consensus on climate change, but not the safety of GMOs.
GMO crops are what you make of them. It's like, you can't say, okay, Monsanto exists, therefore GMOs are evil. No, corporate bastards like Monsanto are evil. GMOs are good.
Again, it's a half-hour talk. I do highly recommend it, and I'm going to end with another story from his blog. But, so yeah, we'll link that, and it's a good listen.
Yeah, check it out. Check it out, guys.
The next thing is something from the Argonne National Laboratory, which is actually where Ida is, but this is not related to her. It's a material that just breaks physics, because the material becomes less dense after you compress it.
Take that, physics. Seriously. Do you know how often I drop things? I blame physics every single time. Physics is a bitch.
So yeah, like, when the scientists first saw this, they were like, what? How? What? Because it's a material that after they put it under, like, thousands of atmospheres of pressure, and then they let go, and the volume has increased.
Makes all the sense. Wait, no. By all the sense, I mean none of the sense. But continue.
So, but it's basically, it's zinc cyanide, and just the compression somehow just rearranges the entire molecular structure so it becomes sponge-like.
Can you find this sponge-like material under the sea? Like, if you were to stick the zinc cyanide and inject it into a pineapple and put that pineapple under the sea, would you get a sponge in the pineapple under the sea?
No.
But there's a lot of pressure
I'm
on
just
there.
I'm just gonna crush your dreams. No. I'm just...
Just, no.
but okay, being serious for just a very brief moment. It's cool because, like, so they put it in like a diamond anvil and they compress it, and depending on what liquid is around the material during compression, they can like customize the size of the pores in the resulting material. So they can basically make custom filters and shit.
Custom filters for things like pants, for instance.
Pants?
You know.
Who has filters on pants?
You could put a filter inside pants. You could put a sponge inside of a pair of pants, like especially if those pants were square.
Ugh.
I'm not letting go, man. I'm not letting this go.
Anyway, I just thought the story was amusing more than anything because they like literally spent like years testing this because they're like, this can't be right.
No, seriously, that is actually kind of awesome.
Like, wait, what? No. Test again? Really? Really? What? That's how I imagine the scientists were talking.
See, it's just like, just further proof. Reality does not give a fuck.
Reality is a honey badger.
Reality is just like, fuck this.
Oh, that's a shirt. Reality is a honey badger. I don't give a
Yeah.
shit. Anyway, moving on. This is also a cool story. It's from medicine, Washington University School of Medicine in St. Louis, etc., etc., etc. It may have found a way to make potentially the insulin-producing cells transplantable. Because right now, it can be done, but you need 3 dead donors to get enough cells.
Oh, shit.
So they actually found a compound that makes the cells multiply and survive outside the body, which is like a big deal.
Yeah, it is.
So that was pretty cool. It's funny because the compound was originally developed by another group to make the cells lining the intestine multiply, and they were like literally just having like lunch one day, and like, oh, let me try this, the other compound that you guys were using, and they just did, and it worked.
Well, that's a little anticlimactic, but still, I mean, what really matters here is the results.
I thought it was like amusing story because it was literally just like getting together to talk about the research and like, oh, you have this like formula for making intestinal cells multiply in your fridge for like a month, and they're like, oh, let's try it with beta cells, and it's like, oh, cool.
Science is weird, man.
Yeah. Sure.
Just like all this life-changing, mind-bending shit, and scientists are just like doing it just like not even giving a fuck, just swish. Just make it look easy. Make me feel like a jackass.
Yeah. But anyways,
guys.
I'm hoping it can also be used on stem cell-derived beta cells, because that would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be.
But even with transplants, like, you could get a donor, like even a living donor, grow a bunch of cells, and like put the cells in some sort of material that allows the passage of nutrients and insulin, but not let in the immune system. Basically like a fine mesh capsule almost, but on like a micro scale.
Very excellent. I'm getting feedback from your fan.
You are?
Don't worry, don't turn it off, it's fine.
Okay, good, because it's hot as balls in here.
I sympathize, man. I got my fan off and its temperature's rising.
Anyway, power right through. Last story for me, because you got shit to say. Again, another Mark Lynas blog post. I'm questioning whether to get him on the podcast, but I might want to save that for the documentary.
Yeah.
Have I mentioned the documentary on the podcast?
I don't think you have.
So yeah, I'm making a documentary.
It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and make it for $0, and that reminds me I have to email a bunch of people for interviews.
Yeah, we're gonna interview them, and then we're gonna, like, knit that shit together with footage and everything, so it's gonna be, like, a really long episode of Braindrizzle, except more like Brainstorm, and that we make a cohesive point, and we don't, like, go off into... We don't ride off into...
Yeah, it's gonna be like a real documentary with, like, a narrative. Yeah.
Yeah, and like legit facts and everything. No riding off into like the liquid sunset on a unicorn of irrelevancy.
Anyway, so I'm probably gonna save any words from him for the documentary that I'm hopefully making. Um,
Yeah, we're really hoping that it comes together.
yeah. There's sort of nipping a potentially hazardous anti-GMO story in the bud. Basically, there was a study on feeding pigs GM wheat and corn,
Mm-hmm.
and basically, Merkel breaks it down how it's absolute shit.
Yes.
Similar to that old rat study.
Oh, wait, no, it's literally shit because the pigs are eating it and it comes. Okay, never mind. Continue.
But he pointed out the experiment was designed poorly. The pigs in both groups were not taken care of well because they
Mm.
all had inflammation and pneumonia and shit.
Aw, poor piggies.
And their main data point was that GM fed pigs had higher incidence of severe inflammation of the stomach, but none the non-GM pigs had higher instances of moderate and mild inflammation.
I see.
Overall, it's not very significant,
Mm.
the result.
I see. So basically, they did this study to gun for the
Also,
results they
they
wanted.
measured a bunch of shit and found the one thing that supported their claim. They measured all sorts of medical problems in the pigs, and literally in others, the GM fed pigs did better. I forget the examples.
Oh wow, that. Well, what is wrong with these people?
Yeah, so in the category of severe inflammation, which is really arbitrary, it was higher in the GM fed pigs.
Mm.
So
Meh.
I thought that was pretty amusing.
It was higher in the GM fed pigs.
Yeah, that one category that they basically made up. Okay,
Oh. Okay. Well, okay. So all of that was really confusing, but I think it
sorry.
was intentionally so because of just how this bogus study was done. Because that's what they do, man. That's what happens when you put a marketing guru at the head of your science.
Yeah. And there's also a conflict of interest thing with how the group was funded, and
Mm-hmm.
where they were published. And it was just funny because all the pigs had stomach inflammation, but they basically said, okay, we're calling this severe inflammation, and we're pointing out that the GM fed pigs have a few percentage points higher in the severe category.
Yeah, and depending on how they collect that data, I mean that's easy. Just a shitty study, man.
Yeah.
Shitty work. Shitty work.
So again, that's a text-based post. But we'll link that along with his video. That's also good. Okay, I'm done, Jack.
Okay, so, would you like to know what I did last weekend?
Sure would.
Okay, so, I went to FreeOK, which is down in Oklahoma City. It was this atheist conference. It was amazing. The baby buffet was superb. Yeah, motherfuckers, I went there. Alright, so I'm not going to tell you about, the aggravating shit known as planning and traveling. None of that went very easily, but I'm not going to tell you about it because I don't want to be pissed off and it's also boring. But, I'm going to skip instead to, after we all got settled in our, shitty motel, and then we drove to this really fucking fancy hotel called the Renaissance. I mean, you walk in, and you hear a waterfall and this tinkling music, and you walk around and there's plants everywhere, and there was a koi pond, an indoor koi pond. I'm not shitting you, man. I went there with Lalandra and Aaron Raw actually, and we go there, and we walk up to these. They walk. I follow them up to the bar where these people are talking. Of course, everybody's at the bar, and it's Sean Faircloth and then Stacy. Oh, I can't remember her last name. She was one of the speakers. She was from Wichita, and she did this presentation about sex ed, which was awesome. Anyway, they were it's just all these people were up there, right? Zach, what's his last name again? Zach Coplin was there, and I remember sitting there watching him like, I remember sitting there at one point and thinking, why isn't Zach drinking? Then I was like, oh yeah, that's right, fucking kid's underage. He's not old enough to drink, and he was speaking. That kid is a bamf.
Goddamn, Zach always showing me up.
Anyway, no, he's
good.
he's a sharp one though. He is a sharp kid. Like,
yeah.
Seriously, man. Anyway, we all sat around, got to meet some cool people. I actually met somebody who used to live here in Topeka, and it was amazing. And so we all sat around and just did our shit, just shot the shit with people, had beers, ate pizza. The pizza was awesome. Like, the hotel pizza I did not expect to be awesome, but I ate it, and it was a Supreme pizza, which I don't normally like Supreme pizzas, but, I got something that other people would like, and it was like a Roman orgy in my mouth. It was amazing.
Would that be amazing? I don't think it would be. I think that would taste really terrible in your mouth.
I was there, and it was wonderful. Anyway.
Oh, God.
Anyway, so we're all, like, hanging out, right? And everybody's just talking about just this awesome shit, and I'm sitting there, like, listening to everybody, and it was amazing, just these awesome, smart people with interesting shit to say, just getting drunk, and I was just like, yes! Why can't you people just, like, live in my town? And anyway, so then like, this guy Lawrence Krauss shows up. Now everybody's just like, oh my gosh, Lawrence Krauss is coming, and I'm just kind of like, who? I don't know. I had no clue who this cat was. And he walks up, and everybody's all like, ooh, ah. So all I know is that this guy with the glasses is walking toward us, and everybody is flipping their shit. And he sits down, and everybody just instant paying attention to him and stuff, and he's just sitting there. He got some soup because, like, the pizza was gone by the time he got there, and he's just sitting there like, yay, soup, and everybody's like, ooh, ah. Anyway, he finished eating, he, like, started talking and stuff, and really interesting dude, but he had the fucking koi pond behind him, and my hearing is not the best, so I'm having to, like, sit forward with my finger behind my good ear to try to pick up what this dude is saying past all, like, the water and the tinkling music and the, the chairs on the ground and children running around, middle-class children, and, I just remember just sitting there, just transfixed. My ears started to hurt, just like, I intensely wanted to know what this dude was saying, because I'm just kind of like, everybody is losing their shit over this guy. I need to know more about this person. He was a really nice, interesting guy. Like, he was the type of person that I would walk up to and just strike up conversation with if I saw him at, like, a hookah bar or a coffee shop or something. And, so it was almost a pity that he had all these people around him all the time, because it kind of, made that difficult. Everybody wanted to talk to him, I wasn't the only one, and I don't know how much of that was just me following the cues of the reactions of the people around me, or how much of that was just my own genuine interest, just getting a measure on this dude. Yeah. Sizing him up, because I sized him up the same way that I sized everybody up, and he passed my standards of, ding ding, I approve. And I know that he doesn't give a fuck. Nobody should give a fuck about that, just so you guys know. You don't have to give a fuck about me. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, well, don't push me in front of a bus or anything, but it's like, I don't expect you to give a fuck about what I think, because chances are I'm not going to give a fuck about what you think, so...
I just thought that sound effect was necessary.
It was. That was a good call.
Continue.
Yeah, anyway, so then, like, I could not sleep at all, the night before the conference, and then we go in there, and the whole convention is taking place in just one room. And it'll start with a speaker, and then there'll be like 15-minute breaks between speakers. It reminded me of like passing time back in high school. I'd get up and use the restroom, talk to friends. People were grabbing smokes. A lot of people were walking around with like e-cigs, which was like creepy because like you see somebody like it looks like they're smoking a cigarette indoors, and you're just kind of like, oh god, it's the '80s again. The '80s have returned, and the '70s, and the '60s, and the '50s. Blast from the past, but yeah, I met a lot of really cool people, and saw a lot of like really awesome speakers. Like there's this this lady named Stacy who I met the night before. She gave a really awesome talk about the importance of sex ed, and she was actually from Wichita. She was really really she was very local, and like there's people with like selling books and shit, and anyway, like, and I met a lot of really really awesome people who came up, talked to me, asked about me, like wanted to know things about me just cause, man. I mean, it's just like this place was half of the point of this was so people could connect with other atheists, and I really really dug that aspect of it. I mean, this is the first I've never seen that many atheists in one place in my life. Like before, the majority of atheists I've seen in one spot is 4. I've never been in a room where I was not the only one or the strictest minority.
Yeah.
And that in itself was a mind-blowing experience, and I learned so much. I mean, one of the things that I learned, that I kept learning throughout the day, is that it is good sometimes to just sit down, shut the fuck up, and listen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was at lunch. Actually, like, a whole bunch of us went to lunch together, and I sat across the way from, like, this old lady who asked about me, and she was just kind of like, hey, okay, so are you atheist? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, have you always been atheist? And I'm just like, no, actually, I grew up religious, but not Christianity. It was New Age was what was in the household. New Age and the occult. Now, when you say New Age, a lot of people think a lot of things like crystals and vibes and whatnot, but that's not what New Age means every time. New Age is not so much a religious movement as it is a subculture, and it's got a broad variety of practices. So, basically, what we had in the household was Deepak Chopra, Hermeticism, astrology, like deep astrology, as in do your own horoscope style astrology. My mom taught herself. We had several forms of divination: I Ching, tarot. There were Buddha beads, like just this mix of stuff. But the whole idea was the whole basic core of it was justifying belief in magic, and that ruled everything. That was the end all. I was, exposed to church also. My grandmother, she went to a Methodist church, and sometime when we were, we stayed with her a lot. And whenever she went to church, she'd take us, because she's not going to leave us at home alone. So I was exposed to, like, just your very generic Methodist Sunday school. And, let's see, later on I accepted Christ to piss off my mom. And I went to a church that I thought was like this crazy church because they had people speaking in tongues. Well, it's Topeka. Of course they're gonna speak in tongues. And we had like some sort of like, spooky, you're going to hell Halloween play at one point, which was pretty cool. I remember that was the first year we'd done that, was the first one of those I'd ever been to. And I thought it was pretty excellent theater, but a little intense. But yeah, I was But yeah, I remember talking to her, just being like, okay, you mentioned New Age, my blood boils. What forcing yourself to believe in magic and beating yourself up for not having magic powers will do to your mind, will do to your childhood, is horrible. And I went, so it was like, okay, I experienced the New Age shit at home, and then I went to one of these crazy churches that you guys are always talking about, and having this direct comparison, I'd say the New Age is worse. And then I saw Thinking Atheist. He was there. He did this awesome presentation explaining, that pretty much explained to me exactly why I was wrong. Like, what is that like? I say something that I am certain is correct, that comes from years of hard-earned experience, and then it gets proven wrong, like, an hour later. An hour or two later, I'm just like, oh shit, it's the same thing. Now, I understood that there was a lot of Christian religious abuse that's like what I went through. But I thought that it was like isolated to the home. I didn't think that it could, by its very nature, be perpetuated by an institution. That same sort of thing. Because like, the religious abuse was mixed with other abuse, and I saw everything that my parents did to try to hide what they were doing. And it's like, how could an institution try to pull that shit off? How could it happen where you have these like religious daycares that are leaving kids in soiled diapers for hours at a time, and how can this be happening? But it is. And that just blew my mind. Like, I had a huge reality check, and that was probably one of the biggest indicators that, okay, this is the time where I need to sit down, shut up, and listen. Because there I was. I thought that since I had gone to 2 Christian churches that I knew what it was all about, man. I was a douchebag. And I recognize that I was a douchebag, so I'm trying not to be a douchebag, and I have a lot that I need to learn about what's going on in the world, because people were talking about political things that I had no clue about. People were talking about things happening that I had no clue had happened. I mean, shit, I didn't find out about the space jump until like 2 days after it happened, because I don't watch the news. Sometimes I just take long breaks from watching the news because it overwhelms me. I've been in survival mode. And it's like, if I had to watch all the horrible fucked up shit that's happening that this movement's trying to fight, on top of seeing all the horrible fucked up shit that's happening that this movement wants to fight, that I want to fight in my everyday life, man, I have a million reasons to fight, and I am going to get involved in this, right? I mean, I went to this conference with one reason in my mind, and then I come out of it. Yeah, I went to this conference with one goal in my mind. I come out of it with a completely different goal, man. And I want to join this movement. I want to do more with it. I want to fight, and I have a lot of reasons why. My reasons aren't causes or news stories or anything like that. My reasons are people that I see every day in person. Some people that I don't get to see at all, no matter what day, because they're no longer with us. People from my past, people that I saw hurt, the people that I've seen hurt, people that I've hurt, and people that are getting hurt right now. I mean, I've watched some nightmares occur, and I know that not everybody survives the shit that I went through growing up with religion. I mean, reality, it's like a bridge with rails as opposed to like a tightrope. Reality is a bridge, while the land of belief and faith is you're walking a tightrope. It's so hard to balance, and if you lose your balance, it's like free fall. The world is always shifting, and you go into free fall until you can land on another tightrope, and it won't stop until you get yourself on a bridge. And reality is the shit that's gonna help people. I mean, belief in things like religion, magic, ghosts, and aliens royally fucked up my life. My life spiraled downward with belief. I didn't know how to use logic or even really think for myself. The nadir was being unemployed in a moldy house with no water, alone, with an internet connection. I went into that horrible house as a Christian, as a believer I believed in ghosts. I believed the house I was in was haunted. I believed in aliens. I believed in magic. I believed that Christ died for my sins and talked to me. I heard voices from time to time, is what I'm trying to say. I went into this horrible living situation with all of that. And then I ended up coming out of that same house an atheist, because I was unemployed, with no water, alone, with an internet connection, with nothing to do but just sit there and read. And I had all of my mom's old, like, New Age books with me, And I almost dived into that pile because I just needed to try to put together some kind, I was in free fall again, and I needed to put together some kind of reality. And I almost dived into the same books that ruined my life, that ruined my mother's life, ruined my life, ruined everything. I almost made that same choice. But I had another option. And learning about science was just more interesting. I mean, it was like finally landing on solid ground for the first time. And ever since then, ever since I became an atheist and, into rational thinking and all that kind of stuff, my life has been getting better and better. I mean, my story, which I will tell at some point, just not right this second, because it'll take fucking hours. I mean, there's so many things about it that are parallel to an addict getting off of drugs. I mean, my life has been places that usually it takes drugs to get there, but there was no drugs involved with me. It was only religion. And it fucking ruined my life. And I need to fight. It is time for me to really face what I was. Understand just the kind of person I could have become. The kind of bullet that I dodged, and I can't just leave that alone. I need to get up and fight, and I'm going to do it any way I can. How I want to do it is, doing things like this, making media. I mean, that's what we need to do, and starts with Brainstorm. It's kind of cool, I've already started. With Brainstorm, man, we've seen no growth. Our show is formulaic, and all we have, it's like, we've seen no growth. Our show is formulaic, and all we have, damn it. Let's see, we've seen no growth. Our show is formulaic, and we all have our parts of it tattooed into our routine. And we don't draw big numbers. We don't have much to show outside of like $4 a month in ad money, a slowly falling view count, and 145 fucking episodes every damn week. We're every week, and we're not stopping. Once the heat death of the universe comes, nothing will be left but that crystal computer we talked about one time. And new episodes of Brainstorm, bitches.
I would put the annotation to that episode of Brainstorm, but I'm lazy. Continue.
I can't even remember which one it is. Man, all the science is blurred together. Science news. I know what's happening in science right now. That is probably research that you've never heard of. Anyway, hipsters unite. We need to make media. Okay, no, seriously, I'm gonna break it down. It's not rocket surgery, and it's not even a new idea. Imagine, 300 people or so, which is actually the view count, last I checked, the view count of the last episode of Brainstorm. Now, imagine,
358.
Imagine 358 people. Last time you saw 358 people in person. Maybe you saw it, at a theater or a restaurant or something. And, imagine those same people showing up once a week to hear you talk. That is huge. I am so grateful for you guys. You don't even know. That is so many classrooms. That is a week's worth of class right there.
And now that I think about it, that's almost double the amount of people that were at the conference I went to. So that's kind of crazy.
Conference I went to was 1,500 people.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, dude, man. That was an overwhelming experience.
Now our audience seems less impressive. I'm going with my figure.
Okay, yeah. So, but no, seriously, we need to create more media. Videos, podcasts, blogs, graffiti, poems, paintings, whatever the fuck you want. Get a DeviantArt. Get a camera, get a YouTube. If you don't have a computer, get a phone that can do it. Just do what you can. Write in bathroom stalls. Whatever, man. If you got something to say, find a way to say it. Even if it's just telling your story. No, fuck it. Especially if you're telling your story. Get informed, get involved, make media. As far as telling your story goes, with people, it's like cockroaches. If you see one, it's a good indicator that there's more. The stories I have to tell are most certainly relevant to the lives of others out there, and so are yours. I'm not asking anyone to do anything that I won't do. I already told you a little bit of mine, and, it's what I have. It's one more thing that I have to give, and I'm more than willing to give it. And I'm gonna give my time and my editing skills and my voice skills and just whatever I have to help people make media. that is what I have decided to do to help this movement. It's what I can do, and it's what I can do well. I mean, I remember, I was kind of almost, I guess, saving the best for last here, but the day after the conference, that morning, before I got on the bus, yeah, I bussed there, by the way, before I got back on that Greyhound bus, we went back to the Renaissance Hotel, and I called up to Lawrence Krauss's room to get him downstairs for an interview. He agreed to do an interview with Lalandra and Aaron Raw and me. Aaron Raw, filmed, and Lalandra and I basically I helped lasso this guy in. She set it up, but I'm actually the one who approached him at the after party to kind of nail it down, just like to make sure that. And I'm the one who called her to the room to kind of lasso our interview victim. I mean, I've interviewed scientists before for Braindrizzle, and I've never actually been involved in the hunting process. That's all Q. He cold calls, and whoever says yes, we have on the show.
Yep.
And that's how that goes down, man. And it's like I broke my interview cherry.
Oh, that's such a bad way to put it. Continue. No, we should end there. Let's end right fucking there. Please. Can we,
No.
Right after you said cherry, just end it there. Please. Did you have more to talk about? Sorry, I'm cutting you off.
Yeah, I can always say, I broke my interview cherry. Again.
You could.
Yeah. Anyway, so I got to interview this dude that, 2 days before, I meet him, and I'm all like, who's this guy? And then I actually see him talk, and he's, explaining, he's explaining about all this, second-level physics, and doing a really good job explaining it. I mean, I couldn't follow all of it, but there's some of it I could follow. And I never took physics. I don't know jack shit about physics. I hate physics. Physics tries to kill me every day when I trip over things. But yeah, and I got to talk to this guy. And I remember sitting there, and I didn't talk much. Lalandra, she didn't ask most of the questions, which I was fine with. I was just sitting here, my mind blown, just thinking, it just occurred to me, shut up and listen. That was another time when I realized, okay, it's time to sit down, shut up and listen. And I actually edited the interview, too, and I did a really good job on it. I'm proud that I was involved with that in the ways that I was. And it was amazing. It was probably this weekend. That whole weekend was one of the scariest things I had ever done. I got on a bus to stay in a cheap motel room with strangers.
What could possibly go wrong?
Ate with strangers, met with strangers, told people things about me, and interviewed a guy. And then get back on that Greyhound bus. Just the whole 5-hour trip back up was just me sitting there processing things, just processing what the fuck happened from. And yeah, I guess that's all I have to say about that. And also, I broke my interview cherry.